Take a deep breath for me. Hello, I'm Kwan Siu. Chapter 2. The Doctor. 5th December 2019, Thursday. The cyst is turning into a tumor. There is a high possibility that it could be cancer, said Dr. Chop. I was left speechless, struggling to process what was being told. This was supposed to be part of the monitoring routine, although I understood that sometimes changes could occur. That was the whole idea of why we need to monitor, but I didn't expect this. A sense of dread twisted my gut, rendering me too stunned to speak. I felt disheartened. Despite the 2 years that had prepared me for the potential of such changes, I remained frail in the face of this threat. Dr. Chop, ever observant, remarked, "Perhaps you need some time to process this development. Please let me know if you have more questions later. There's no need to rush into any decisions now, but this might be cancer. You must not ignore it." I knew his deep concern for my well-being, and I appreciated his understanding of my mental state. He remained patient and compassionate. Understandingly, I could not stay seated there and remain silent, although I felt safe doing so. I informed him that I would plan what was necessary and would reach out to him again. 2nd January 2020, Thursday. After 1 month, I was more open to addressing what needed to be done. I was prepared to seek answers, and I preferred to do this in person rather than through email. Robotic keyhole surgery is the best option for this. We will make 5 incisions on your abdomen, 4 small ones and 1 just large enough for your tumor to be removed, Dr. Chop explained patiently. Considering it will only involve small incisions, would you categorize this as a minor procedure? I inquired. No, nothing about this is minor. We are talking about a partial nephrectomy. It involves accessing your kidney to remove a tumor and restructure your kidney. The fact that it's a less invasive technique doesn't mean it is any less major. Complications can happen, he exclaimed, not intending to frighten me, but to provide a perspective of what I was going to face. Although I didn't ask, he proceeded to outline all potential complications and their respective likelihoods. To put things plainly, there was a possibility that I might end up in the intensive care unit, also known as ICU, if things didn't go well. Strangely, understanding all the possible scenarios brought a sense of calm. Perhaps I needed concrete information rather than letting my imagination, which tended to be quite vivid, run wild. Who will perform the surgery? I asked as I detected a certain vagueness on this subject throughout his explanation. My team, indicating that he wouldn't be leading the surgery. I was taken aback, but didn't perceive it as an issue. As long as he had confidence in his team, I was comfortable with the arrangement. How long do I need to be in the hospital? I inquired. If there are no complications, you'll be here no longer than 3 days, he replied confidently and continued. You will be fully recovered and can resume normal activities in about a month. How long will the surgery take? Less than 5 hours. We also finalized the surgery date. He then instructed his nurse to provide me with a copy of financial counseling, a fancy name for detailing the expenses I, as a non-Thai, would incur at a government-owned hospital. This was a crucial aspect of my preparation for the surgery. While my health insurance covered treatments abroad, it was only on a reimbursement basis. The impending surgery didn't register as a reality for me. In the depths of my mind, I was still in denial. I was fully aware of the consequences and possibilities. It was not a lack of insight. I believed I was a well-informed patient. Yet my subconscious tirelessly erected a protective wall around this predicament, stubbornly resisting logical acceptance. I clung to a defensive expectation, hoping against hope that somehow this ordeal might miraculously go away. Being the total opposite of Yoda, I adamantly avoid delving into details about my upcoming surgery. I couldn't muster the courage to Google the procedure and its intricacies. The fear of stumbling upon unsettling information and igniting a fresh wave of unease deterred me. I acknowledged that my denial was highly provoked by anxiety, deeply protective of my emotional security. I was upset with everyone's nonchalant responses to my impending surgery as if my anxiety wasn't valid. They were not allowing me the right to my emotions by constantly comparing me to millions of people going through surgery every day, most in a more complex nature than mine. While I recognized their intent to elevate my fear, it had only made me feel more like a coward. No one asked me the single, most poignant question, "What are you afraid of?" As soon as Mary Poppins was made aware of my surgery date, she wanted to make plans. Recognizing my distressed state of mind and disorientation, she didn't make light of the situation that I was going to come against, nor did she belittle my uneasiness. "WhatsApp?" Mary Poppins said. "I'm coming over." I said, "Why?" Mary Poppins said, "Either I go with you to Bangkok or I stay with the kids to let Yoda go with you to Bangkok." Receiving her text, I was deeply moved by her kindness and effort, and tears welled up in my eyes. Although I knew she was someone I could lean on for support, I couldn't allow her to go to such lengths. If she was to travel 13 hours across the globe, I wanted it to be for a vacation for her, not to serve as a caregiver or nanny. Additionally, the escalating severity of the virus outbreak in Wuhan raised concerns. I didn't feel comfortable with the idea of her being on a long-haul flight, risking exposure to the virus. Even though no one predicted a complete shutdown of borders, we were prudent enough to recognize that it was not an ideal time to go traipsing anywhere. After considerable persuasion, Mary Poppins dropped her plans. "Distance means so little when someone means so much," quoted Tom McNeil. "Let me know when you want me to send a deposit to the hospital," said my brother, who had repeatedly assured me not to stress about the arrangements. He had offered to settle my hospital bill until I received my reimbursement from my insurance company. Blessed I was to exist in the snug bosom of my family. My brother and I were a rare breed. I didn't think we had ever fought. Probably due to our wide age gap. In our childhood, I was more like a mother to him than a sister. As he matured into adulthood, he had taken the role of guardian, protective of all around him, being the big brother I never had. He was not the perfect male specimen, stubborn as a mule, uncompromisingly meticulous, and easily annoyed and irritable. Looking past his faults, one would easily find a heart of gold, resolutely goal-oriented, and accidentally generous. As sibling straws go, I drew a favorable one. The greatest gift our parents ever gave us was each other. Dear brother, thank you for being my rock, always. At one point, I did think about the extravagance of my choice and venue of treatment. I could not help but think about the burden of time, money, and effort that my family had to carry for me to receive the best medical care. I felt selfish and demanding. As the date of the surgery drew nearer, my brother kept asking for a green light from me to wire the deposit, and I kept holding him off. The hospital required the deposit to reach them at least 2 weeks in advance of the surgery, and telegraphic transfer took time. I hesitated to make financial arrangements so far in advance, influenced by years of last-minute planned cancellations due to work emergencies, which occur frequently early in my career. Old habits die hard. There was still a lingering feeling in my mind, preventing me from giving my brother the go-ahead. Perhaps it was also the faint hope that I might not need the surgery after all, which seemed ridiculous at this point, but I was still resisting the thought of it. A few weeks later, news of the spread of the virus in Wuhan, which was still referred to as the coronavirus, became more worrying. Many suggested weeding out the virus outbreak. Of course, at that time, everyone thought it would only take a couple of months. Upon hearing this, my heart lifted. I had somehow received a delusive approval to delay this distressing event. However, Dr. Chop was having none of it. He insisted that we had to proceed with surgery as scheduled since we were unable to estimate when the COVID-19 situation would end. What he didn't tell me was that if Little Marble was cancer, being in the kidney, it would spread very quickly. Also, queues for surgery in government-owned health establishments were long, and it was not easy to change on a whim. Nevertheless, he understood my concerns if I still wished to reschedule. 18th March 2020, Wednesday. Eventually, the Malaysian government made the decision for me when the Movement Control Order, or better known as MCO, was imposed nationwide to curb the spread of COVID-19. It was supposed to be for just 14 days. However, it had then been extended to 1 month. Although the MCO was extended and relaxed to different phases in 2020 and 2021, travel restrictions and limitations were still in place for almost 18 months. Surprisingly, this turn of events, although gave me the respite I wanted, didn't give me peace of mind. It brought me back to the saying, be careful what you wish for, you might just get it. A sensible person would have begun exploring alternatives at this point, but I didn't. This spoke volumes about my ignorance and foolishness. Looking back, I realized that dwelling in denial was a dangerous emotional state. It was the only reaction I knew, escaping to evade the circumstances that triggered anxiety and the bevy of distressing emotions it brought. I was prepared to endure everything except for proceeding with the only solution to my predicament, strongly resisting the inevitable. In some ways, I felt that not acknowledging reality kept me safe. I continued to keep in touch with Dr. Chop via email. 3 months after my missed surgery date, he suggested I repeat a CT scan. 7th July 2020, Tuesday. One would have thought I should be cool with CT scans by now. Unfortunately, that was not so. This time was worse. I knew what we were looking for, and I knew things were changing, and not for the better. I did ponder if getting the surgery done was easier than enduring this perpetual torture. Little Marble had not gotten bigger, nor had it downsized, although my stubborn head was still willing it to disappear. At this point, I was already thoroughly educated by explanation and by research of this inevitability. Yet I was not willing to accept its existence and the possible consequence it would cause should it be left neglected. My CT scan showed no changes to Little Marble, reducing Dr. Chop's concern. My surgery date had been moved twice and now we were rescheduling it for the 3rd time, which the date came and gone while the borders remained closed. 8 October 2020, Thursday. I went for an ultrasound to check on Little Marble. I didn't want to, but fortunately my brain was still functioning. While ultrasounds lack the detail of CT scans, my primary concern was ensuring that Little Marble did not suddenly get bigger. The results show no significant changes, providing relief but fail to offer the contentment I sought. If I was asked to describe myself at this moment, I would say I was foolish and headstrong. This was probably why I was hesitant to share the existence of Little Marble with more people. I didn't like to be looked upon as an exasperating moron. Over the months, I was overwhelmed with deep tension. I drowned myself in work. I accepted additional writing commitments because the subject stirred my creativity and challenged my limits, using it as a distraction from what was plaguing me, and providing me with the excuse of not doing anything about Little Marble. Unbeknownst to me, the emotion that I was trying to escape from tightened its grip further on my life, because I would then have to make decisions based on the disturbance I didn't want to feel. I was so good at putting up a false front that no one suspected there was a raging war in my head. I continued to visit my spiritual center to offer my prayers of gratitude and to receive light, a constant practice. Regardless of my disturbed state of mind and all that had been going on, I did have a lot to be thankful for. My spiritual center director was concerned that I was not doing anything about my condition. Despite not directly intervening, he had subtly urged me to address my health condition promptly, strongly conveying the teaching of our faith, which was the acceptance of God's will, and never to go against the advice of a doctor. If I had to go through it, nothing could stop it. I struggled to be at peace with this teaching. Nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. Quoted Pema Chodron. 18th November 2021, Thursday. An email came from Dr. Chop out of the blue to inquire about my well-being, a gesture that touched me, but also raised alarm. I have fallen back to complacency again, not a good place to be with my condition. The email also prompted me to do another CT scan. Little Marble had gotten bigger, and Dr. Chop was not comfortable with me not doing anything about it. 24th November 2021, Wednesday. After a week of exchanging concerns with Little Marble over emails, Dr. Chop suggested I follow up with a urologist here. Little Marble had increased in size with the same prognosis, and it was very likely to be cancer, although there was no evidence of any spread of possible cancer in the area that the scan covered, for example, the lower lungs, abdomen, and spine. According to guidelines, partial nephrectomy was still the plan. If I wanted to see someone here, he would be happy to provide a few referrals. This email threw me into an icy panic. For the first time, I was awakened to the possibility of metastasis, the spread of cancer to different parts of the body. I was frightened down to the soles of my feet. It was not a very pleasant feeling. I felt like throwing up, and fresh terror welled up within me. The only thought that popped up in my head was that I was going to die from cancer at midlife and my children would grow up without their mother. I knew I had to do something. I could not pretend Little Marble was going to disappear by itself anymore. I asked Dr. Chop for a referral. 1st December 2021, Wednesday. Despite my assurance to Dr. Chop, I didn't see another urologist. I was very sure there was no robotic surgeon here where I lived. I knew there were many out in the city. My cousin, to be known as Vano because she's so vain, was consulting with one. She had been telling me about him for months. However, due to my single-mindedness, I had not considered other options because I didn't want to start this journey with a new doctor again. It was too exasperating. A surgeon-patient relationship is like marriage. First you meet and then you decide if you like each other enough to continue seeing each other. If things went well, trust was formed. Then you just surrender yourself to his ministration, including stabbing you 5 times in the torso. So, to embark on this new relationship again would be like getting back into dating after a divorce. When it was time to see my gynecologist, Dr. Cervix, again, my mind was in turmoil. Although I was appreciative of the absence of any unusual findings, Dr. Cervix appeared concerned, noticing my reluctance to address the issue of Little Marble. He wasn't happy with the latest CT scan result. After noting down everything from the physical examination he conducted, he cleared his desk, inviting me to sit down for a discussion. "I don't like what I see in your CT scan. You need to do something soon," he said in a subdued tone. "Tell me what I can do to help." I was uncertain about how to respond, unsure of what question to pose. My mind, although filled with information, was in a mess. I know surgery is inevitable. I have come to accept the outcome which I had been running away from for the longest time. I believe my hesitation was in the options available to me. I slowly explained. Following that, Dr. Cervix painstakingly explained each option, providing thorough insights and allowing me ample opportunity to ask questions. An hour later, we concluded our discussion and I was immensely grateful for his kindness and patience. When I left his clinic, I knew what I had to do. 3rd November 2021, Friday. I finally picked up my phone and did what I should have done months ago. I called Vano and asked her to make an appointment with her urologist for me. She was excited to do it, thrilled even, almost like fixing a friend with a blind date. "You will absolutely like him," she said. What a strange thing to say about a person I was going to see to discuss the possibility of cancer and gore. I didn't know how to like a person who was going to deliver my worst nightmare. Like an ardent matchmaker, she then proceeded to spam me with numerous credentials about this urologist, who sounded like he belonged on a pedestal more than in a hospital. I didn't click on any of them, probably because I'm not easily impressed by anything flamboyant. It might even have a reverse effect on me. For example, would this doctor be able to spare time and attention for me? To be fair to him and to me, I prefer to trust my instinct when I meet this superstar of a doctor. I was also mentally exhausted from overthinking and from the exercise of dealing with my anxiety, which was starting to affect my physical well-being. Reading about or checking out another person was not at the top of the list of things I urgently needed to do. Thank you very much for listening. If you would like to keep following the story, click here to listen to the next chapter. And if you're new, you can start from the beginning by listening to the full playlist here. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll know when the next chapter is released. Until then, take care. take a deep breath, and I'll see you in the next one.